Hello again. Well, today, with the help of these gods, they're in a painting called the Allegory of the Arts, so that's very fitting. I will hopefully finish the ceiling ornament. They do look lovely. I'm done with the first stage of this project, the routing anyway. But the next bit is going to be, because that top, this bit is very deep, and I want to make it rounded and do a little curve on that. And for that, I'm going to use a technique called pin routing. And again, I'll be using my Proxon mill. And I was going to do it now, but it's already really, really late and I'm quite tired. This took a few hours, and you should never work with these machines when you're tired. That's just getting a little bit dangerous. So I'll do that tomorrow. But pin routing is an interesting technique, and it will give you a lot of flexibility, and I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. So, pin routing. As the name implies, it involves using a pin, and I've got one here inserted into a bit of wood, laminated wood. That's got this hard, laminated surface. You can use different wood, but I've got one in here, and I drilled a hole. I marked the center, drilled a hole that is exactly the size of the diameter of the pin. Actually, it's a nail that I chopped off. And then hammered that in place and glued it as well. So it's in place really strong. And then I cut it off and smoothed it over. And so it's in there. It's not very far. It's only about, 2 or 3 millimeters, something like that. It doesn't really matter that much. Well, a little edit here, because that's not entirely true, because the height of the pin does determine how low you can set your router bit. So if you have if you have your pin at, let's say, 5 millimeters high, then you won't be able to route below those 5 millimeters. So you'll have an edge of 5 millimeters around your project. So it does matter, and it will make a bit more sense when you watch the video, I think. So it's on my table, and a little table I made, and it has I call it a cradle, and that fits exactly, very snugly over top of the table for my mill. So I put that on there, and that's what I start with. Now I want to have that pin positioned exactly underneath my router bit, which is always a little bit tricky because I have to make sure it's in the center. Now if it's not in the center, and this takes a little bit of moving back and forth and to and fro. If it's not in the center, then let's say it's a bit towards the left, then you'll cut away more if you move your piece like this on the left and then move it to the right, which you can do actually. Then you'll cut off more on the left than on the right. So yeah, it's important to center it. Also move it, I have to move it back a tiny bit. And I just do this by eye, of course, but, you know, it takes a little bit of there. I think that's okay. And I'll try a few pieces before I start on my real piece. Now, what the pin does, and you can use any bit. You don't need the bit with the. You don't need one of these bits that have the pin attached to the router bit, but you can use any bit for that, because you don't have a fence, but the pin is going to be your fence, basically. Because what it does, it stops the, I'm just trying to put that back, it stops the piece from going anywhere. So the pin is the fence, basically, and that you can move your piece of wood along that pin and it won't go anywhere, just as the other router bit did. It just stops it from going anywhere. And at the same time, the router is still cutting. So if I start, I have to move it up. There. And now I can... Maybe a little bit deeper. No, that's a little bit too deep, but here I cut a little edge. Maybe I'll do it on the other side. Go up a little bit. That's why you always have to test what you're doing. And this piece is very thick, but that's okay. It was going in there. So here you could see it was going in. That's because I cut away the edge, and it's following the edge of the piece, you know, at the bottom. That's what's moving against the pin. So that's why it was going in all of a sudden. So, but you can use that to create different edge or shaped edges without using one of these router bits. And yeah, it's just another really functional technique, basically. And I use it quite a bit. And I play around with it, and I do actually move the table a little bit to create different effects. So what I'm going to try and do, and unfortunately, it is a little bit... So what I'll do is I'll move the table, oh, not forward and backwards. Oh, I always get confused with these. I'll move it to the left a bit. And then I'll have to keep my piece on the same side. because I want to cut the edge off. If I use that, so now it's no longer centered above the pin. I should really be using my dust extractor, but it's so noisy. And then I can cut like a beveled edge or whatever you want to do alongside here. Now that takes, because you have to keep it in the same position, because if I move it over here, then I get a completely different cut. Let me show you. Or actually that, it won't even reach my, but if I have it here, no, it won't reach. If I do it towards the back, well, it won't even reach. So, yeah. But I'll do that, and I'll move it down a little bit. Now, when you're cutting a piece, normally you would move it from left to right. That's when the cutter cuts. And here it's going from top left to bottom right, or towards me a little bit. And that's when the cutter cuts. If you go the other way, it doesn't, well, it does cut a little bit. And sometimes I use it to smooth the piece a little bit, and that works. And you'll see it just about coming up here. And I'm going back a little bit. And that's just to smooth it, because I'm going against the grain here. And again, here's the grain. It's going, well, I said against the grain, it's going across the grain. It's not going against the grain, it's going across it. And that leaves this slightly raggedy edges here. And here you can see the grain is going here. And the routers, when it's going across the grain, it leaves somewhat ragged edges. And here, where it was going with the grain, it's nice and smooth. So here you can see that I've created a little lip. Maybe I can go a little bit deeper to create a nice effect. Or use a different router bit. That's possible as well. So, yeah, basically that is pin routing. And the most important bit is to get that pin in the right position. And yeah, it's a nice technique. So that was the first pass done, and I had to move the router bit forward a little bit instead of to the side, because this round one, it couldn't make the corner because it was hitting the side of the machine. So I had to adjust a little bit. Now, one of the things that will happen, like I said, when it's going across the grain, you get these really ugly, raggedy edges, and you can prevent it a little bit, or make it less obvious when you do smaller passes. So don't go too deep at once. So when I take it past the bit, I'll just do a little bit first, and then go in deeper and deeper each time until I touch the pin. And now I will do one more pass on all the pieces, and this will sand off. I'm just going to sand that. Those are that's not that bad. Just these bits in the curves, those I'll have to sand and fill a little bit. But yeah, it depends on the wood. It depends on so many things. It just happens sometimes. And I hope if I do one more pass a little bit deeper, because I want it a little bit deeper, then maybe if I'm very careful, it may be a little bit smoother yet. But we'll see. And if you're going to do this, just like anything I do, be careful. It looks like my fingers are really close, and they are, but it's very difficult to keep your hands here when you're moving a piece like that. So be very careful, keep your fingers away, all the safety precautions, even, with dust mask, dust extraction, ear protection, and all those safety measures you have to, apply and be mindful of, because, as I said before, it can hurt you, and it will if you're not careful. Well, that took about 2 hours or so, maybe a little bit less. But yeah, I like the profile on the pieces. But now I have to clean this all up, and then I can prime it. And in the areas where the cross grain, well, there's one piece that I noticed. Don't see. Oh, here. Especially here, it just kind of rips out tiny pieces of wood. So I'll have to prime it and do a little repair on that. Fill it with a little bit of filler, and then sand this off, prime it, and then I can paint it. But first, I'm going to take a little bit of tea. It's quite intense work, and you have to concentrate, and it's quite tiring. So that's why I said last night, don't do this when you're tired, because it's not good. It's dangerous. So, but anyway, just a cup of tea, and I'll sand this. Right, I've done the previous step twice. So the filler, I've put 2 coats of that on there and sanded in between. And I also use my files to go into the edges, file the edges, go right in there so they keep their sharpness. And then let me just put that away there before I hurt myself. And then I put 2 coats of paint on there, and this is I'm very pleased with this one. Very good coverage. And This is in a raw color 9010. Well, doesn't matter, whatever color you like. And I mean, paint, it's become so expensive. This is almost 20 euros for a can. I believe it is like 17 or 19 euros. It's just absurd. But then, you know, everything's become so expensive. I mean, a pack of butter, €5.50. I mean, oh well. Anyway, so I've done 2 coats of that. Sanded in between, again, same thing with the files and sandpaper. And then, of course, you have to cut the miters. Now, that's a bit tricky because you're working with curves. So what I did was I took my, well, I printed another one, my, the original, you remember it was on the back? I cut it out with these, the prints. So I took those, I cut those out and just put them on the back like that, or, you know, laid them on top. And I cut out the exact miters on all the corners like that. And put them on there and then turned them over and just copied the lines there and there. Did that on all of them like that. Turned it over, and you have to be precise, you know. It's not like, oh, because otherwise it's not going to fit basically. And then, yeah, that's a little bit tricky. I use my sanding disc to cut the angles on there, 45 degrees, and it depends a bit on what you have. So you can just saw it off. If you got the line correct, just, you know, you could use your saw. And what else could you do? Yeah, I use my sanding disc. You could use your circular saw, but it is a bit tricky because you cannot, yeah, it's going to be, yeah, it's just a little bit tricky. So it depends on what you've got, but I managed with my sanding disc. And then it is a matter of putting them together. And if you've done it correctly, ta-da! You've got a very pretty frame. Haha. So very pleased with that. And the other thing I did, I went to a professional print shop, or an art print shop. Actually, it's for art, and there was a lovely lady there, and she actually was a teacher at the Amsterdam Art Academy. It's the Rietveld Academy, very famous art academy, and she printed and she worked on, with her computer, the ceiling, the paintings for me. And I just look at the difference. This is my print, or part of it anyway. And that's hers. Mine, hers. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And they had a whole range of papers. And we picked this one, and it looks, it's very difficult to tell on camera, but it actually looks like it's almost like a canvas. Very, very slight, but it's so beautiful. I'm so pleased with these. And here's the other one. Absolutely gorgeous again. Stunning. I keep looking at them. It's just so beautifully done. And yeah, I'll definitely go back and do that again and use that in future projects because it's stunning. And like I said, she was working on it while I was waiting, and it was just, well, fun to do. It was lovely to talk to her, and I was just amazed. And this one is just so gorgeous. I would love to have this one on one of my own ceilings, actually. I don't know where yet, but maybe in the, because I don't know. It's just, there's so much detail. You can actually see the paint strokes and the, yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. But, and she said, but now you have to cut them out yourself. I said, yeah, I know, it's no problem. So this one's going on here. And did I show you that before? I think I did. I mean, these videos have become so incredibly long, and I understand that not all of you want to watch them. I mean, yeah, it's not ideal. The length takes a lot of time, and again, not many of you will be interested in all of these techniques. That's okay. So I'll have to sort of work out where it should go. But yeah, maybe I have to make it slightly smaller. Yeah, I can tell it needs to come in just a little bit. So these have to be shortened a tiny bit. So if I make these a bit shorter, then this will come in. See, did you see that here in these corners? You can still see the edges of the print there. So I'll just have to make, so this has to come in. You can see it here as well. So this has to come in a little bit. That means that these have to be shorter. So I'll do that. And then I have to work on the ceiling. I mean, you know, getting it on there. And I still have to do, I'm still working on that as well. Because I had to change a few things. And as the ceiling was already installed, it's a bit tricky. So, but I'll do that. I just wanted to show you this. I'll finish this and show it to you again. And then work on the ceiling. I love it. Absolutely love it. The colors. I mean, I keep going on about this, and it's because I'm so pleased with it. Sometimes it's just, yeah. And the colors, these are so my colors. Absolutely love it. Same here. Yeah, gorgeous. There. That should do it. Yeah, that feels fantastic. Okay. Now, let's see if that fits. Yep. That's perfect. And I only took off maybe 1 millimeter on each side. Because even though it looks like a lot here and there, if you take off that amount on each side, it's going to be too small. You know, just start doing little bits, and then you can always take off more, but you cannot put it back on. Wow. So, and yeah, like Adri said in one of her comments, it's so much work. Yes, it is a lot of work. And, you know, you have to go back and do it again, do it again, do it again to make it fit. Or not to make it fit, but to make sure that it fits. Yeah, that takes time. So I'll have to position that. I can't see very well when I'm looking. I'm looking this from here. And if I look, the camera is on top, but that's what I should be looking at. There's some, I'll remove that. So yeah, this is good. I'm happy. I'll have to glue that together. And I think I'll sand it once more and then repaint it. Or maybe, no, I can't. I was going to say maybe I'll do it once it's installed. But then I'll have, then I'll just paint everything. Now, I'll have to do that before. So I'll have to glue it together, paint it. I'll have to do that tomorrow because it's midnight or nighttime anyway. And I always do that outside. And then I can install it. Oh, so happy with this. Where's my brush? And with this, the Allegory of the Arts, I was trying to look at who's who, but I'm terrible. You know, you should be able to tell by their attributes who they are. And I always forget. Now, this is probably music. And I can't remember who that is. I'm really bad at that. So maybe one of you will know and you can tell me. Who are these gods? They are lovely though. Oh, by the way, the painting, it's by Jacob de Wit, 1743. And this one, this ceiling painting depicts Flora. I think that's the goddess of flowers. And you can see her here with her basket of flowers and, you know. And I think this is Zephyr, who is the god of the west wind. And I think that's him. Although I keep wanting to open up the, you know, when you do it on your computer as well. I can't. Could be, that looks more like a woman. So I'm not sure. I can't really tell. But anyway, Flora and Zephyr in this picture. And this one, this large one, is also by Jacob de Wit. And it was painted in 1742. You can just about make that out here. And I believe this one is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And this one depicts the Allegory of the Arts. Well, I think I've just spotted one that I recognize here. I think that's Minerva with her helmet and her, what is it, spear and her shield. And she is the goddess of wisdom and the arts and medicine, I believe. Well, usually they have several. Not all of them, but that's one I recognize. That's Minerva, pretty sure. Now I've been looking at the painting a little bit more, and I think I found two more. I think this one, because there's a beehive, that could be Melissa, right? Yeah, I think that would be Melissa. And this one, of course, How could I have missed that one? That's Father Time. That's, what's his name? Saturn? Yeah. With the sickle and the wings. Old man, Father Time. Yeah. And this one could be Flora again. I don't know. It's just, I'm just not really good at this. Anyway, if you recognize some more, let me know in the comments. I would be interested. Okay, last one. I was looking at this one, and I spotted in his hand here something that looks like a pan flute. So this could be Pan. And then I thought, well, he usually has horns, and he has a goat, like the lower half of his body is like a goat's legs, and you can't tell because he's on this cloud and he's got clothes on, but it could be him. And then I looked closer, and it looks like that may be a horn. And of course he's got this staff, and he is the god of shepherds, I believe. And yeah, so it could be him. Yeah. So we've got a couple. Could be Melissa. Definitely Minerva and Saturn and the rest. And maybe Pan or Pan or yeah. Well, there we are. It's as good as finished, almost. The ceiling needs a few more coats of paint, and of course it's not attached yet. The molding needs another coat of paint, and I have to inset the painting into the ceiling, so then I can glue it down. But yeah, I really like it, and I'm very pleased with it. I think it looks beautiful. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And thank you for watching. Until next time.